They say when you wear Black Power Media gear, you can accomplish anything. You play any and every position. From coaching, to kicking, to receiving, to running and juking. And oh my goodness, let's see that again in slow motion. Get off me. And you're going to have a lot of haters coming at you, but what you got to do is you got to shake them off, and get to your goal and accomplish it. And when that's done, it's a beautiful thing. I'm talking about going hard, extra, for that extra point. And when it's done beautifully, you talking about touchdown. Oh, and the crowd goes wild and they're celebrating with you and everything. Man, let's see that again. Nice.
Black Power Media, baby. That's how we do it.
Now go to blackpowermedia.org and get you some of that gear. Empower yourself today. Yeah.
Yes.
1 2 1 2.
What's up, good people?
How y'all
Welcome
feel
to
out
another
there?
edition of Gorilla Intellectuals University. Kalanji Changa, Jared Ball.
We in the
What's up,
building.
good people? We in the building. Welcome to the remixers who are jumping in. Come on in. And as the ear doctor says, tell a friend, tell a friend, tell a friend. And like I said on Instagram, we making Mondays great again.
Better know that. Hey, listen, and we want y'all to know, yes, we did open the chat up today. Special occasion. Y'all start bugging out. We closing it back again. So just let it be known. You know what I'm saying? Part of that thing, part of us with the chat is we feel like sometimes it's a whole lot of side convos and we miss the meat of what's going on, or a lot of criticism, but not a lot of add-on. So we want to make sure that we let it do what it do. You know what I'm saying?
Right. So yeah, be on hand. We're gonna get into at least this one chapter, Chapter 1 of Fanon's Wretched of the Earth. It's always good to revisit work like this, and as we'll talk about, we'll come back to, I was reminiscing over the first time I tried to read it.
Oh wow.
And yeah, I was still in the Navy at the time, and I could see why it didn't go well. Like I wasn't ready for that.
Yeah. Fanon is not for the faint at heart.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? When you talk about the Wretched of the Earth, you know, that's a whole another program. You know what I mean? So it's kind of the turn up, and it inspired a whole lot of other works, and we'll get into that. And I know someone asked about Blood in My Eye. You didn't miss Blood in My Eye. We will be kicking that off, to my understanding, on May 19th, which is the born date of El Hajj Malik Shabazz, Malcolm X, also Yuri Kochiyama and Ho Chi Minh. So we figured we was gonna go that way. And I also have something else, sidebar, and I'm gonna say it real quick for you all. May 19th of this year also kicks off something that our organization FTP movement is launching, and that's called Fitness for Resistance. Fitness for Resistance, where we're challenging brothers and sisters, comrades, and allies to get fit for resistance in whatever fashion or form you can. If that means physical fitness or martial arts, or mental fitness, reading, so on and so forth, spiritual fitness, because we talk a lot of talk, but we have to get ourselves in order if we're serious about what we're doing. So that's going to take place from Malcolm X Day till the end of Black August. You know what I mean? So throughout those days, we're going to post and we're going to talk about different ways to get fit. Fitness for Resistance, FTP movement. And you can stay in touch with that by going to thepeoplesarmy.org, thepeoplesarmy.org. Just had to plug that real quick since we was talking about
right on.
And
just to be clear, shout out to Doctors Jones and James. They are a lot of things are happening. A lot of folks are busy, schedules overlapping, so they are with us. They will resume more on camera overt work with this program going forward, including with the George Jackson piece. So in the interim, Kalanji and I will hold it down and keep it moving here on GIU. So
hey, I want to point out too, man, because on a transparency tip, right? We decided to do Wretched of the Earth last night. So we want you all, if you have the book, follow along. You know what I'm saying? You have comments or whatever, cool, put them in the chat, whatever. But we decided last minute that we would do the Wretched of the Earth, because I think that the Wretched of the Earth has inspired so many of us across the planet. and we're gonna definitely talk about that. But before we jump in, how was your weekend, Dr. Jared Ball?
Oh man, it was good. It was really good. It started early again last week, where earlier this month I had taken my youngest out for a night on the town, dinner, and a soccer game. This Thursday, got to give a talk at a class at Georgetown University, and brought my oldest with me, and then we went out on the town and saw a little, had dinner and saw a movie. The movie Inside, by the way,
is it good?
Starring Willem Dafoe. It is good, and it is because I wanted, we wanted to do a little something different. Took her to one of well, I guess I wanted to say alternative, but landmark, the East Street Landmark Theater in DC is bougie alternative is what I would call it. And so we went, it's got different kinds of movies, beyond just the run of the mill stuff. And it was interesting. I mean, it's a wild, I love it. It makes you think. It's not action. It's not a whole lot of, whatever. And the ending is a little ambiguous. It's thoughtful. I thought it was wild. And most importantly, she picked it and loved it. So that was that,
but Willem Dafoe is like 182 years old right now.
Yeah, because that's what I told her.
Dafoe, but yeah.
When I said when I first saw Willem Dafoe was in the movie Platoon back in the 80s, and my mother back then said, "Oh, Willem Dafoe, I remember him from back in 19 whatever." So I would say to my daughter, "Yeah, I remember him from way back." So he's still making.
Yeah, that's wild. I mean, man. I mean, when you said Willem Dafoe, I thought it was not a typo, but
he's still and
he must be looking like George Burns now, unless he had like crazy plastic.
Not quite. I mean, he still brought a lot of physicality to the role, and he had to carry it because he's literally on camera by himself with almost no spoken parts. And I'm not ruining anything. Like it's compelling. Like it's wild. So anyway, it was a good start to the weekend is the real point I'm getting at. And did some programming over the weekend. People could check out on BPM as well. And then the last point, because I saw Minister Server in the chat, I know this morning is the protest out City Hall around the Hip Hop Museum, and Minister Server in that brilliant, principled way raised some critiques of the conversation I had with Rosa, some praise as well. And it's likely that he and maybe some others will come on and offer up an alternative conversation, from another perspective around the Hip Hop Museum. So I'm looking forward to that. And another thing real quick, I got checked by our dear brother Jordan on a mistake I made on my critique on the Killer Mike video the other day. So shout out to Jordan. So corrective on that as well. Just the quick point was that the $5 million that I said Andy Young and Killer Mike got for that, no, MLK the Third and Andy Young got for their work with the founders of Greenwood Bank was for a previous project. Now on the Greenwood project, Killer Mike and Andy Young are getting equity as brand ambassadors. So it was just that slight little adjustment that had to be made. But I appreciate, my point is, I love the principal critique and the correctives we get here at BPM. I love it. So anyway, my man, how was your weekend?
Man, listen, man, principle, I want to start off, it was great. It had its moments. I'm not gonna lie about that. But I want to say that I want to shout out the T.M. Landry College Preparatory School out of Breaux Bridge, Louisiana. There was a brother that got in touch with me through BPM. He actually sent an email, and Sister May and Jordan had caught it and both forwarded it to me. The brother was saying that they were going to be in town, him and some students and some staff in Atlanta. They would be in Atlanta, and that they wanted to meet with me. And I was like, okay, well, why you want to meet with me? They said they wanted to meet with a quote unquote revolutionary that comes out of the streets like them. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, okay, cool, nice. So I'm always down to meet with with children or whatever, the youth, students, so on and so forth. So I reached out to some of the comrades that came out, and they they spoke with these youth. So it's like maybe like 11 youth from Breaux Bridge, Louisiana. This particular school, and I'm going to have them on a show, they were actually investigated by the FBI and other authorities because their scores were so high that they couldn't believe that they weren't cheating. You know what I mean? So there was a big ass article in the New York Times, and it was a national scandal a few years ago. But they're still going school. I mean, strong. They attempted to break the back of the staff and the students, but it didn't work. So, like I said, they came out to Atlanta, and I had Speech from Arrested Development came out. Shout out to Speech. He talked to them for a good while. My man Tory Edwards from the brand out here, Atlanta Influences Everything. He's a brother I knew since he was a teenager and whatnot. He came and he talked about about the streets and coming out from that particular aspect of his life to where he is now. Minister Server, shout out to Minister Server. He came on out talking to the youth as well. My folks down at Ernie's in the Cut, Ernie and Big Lurch, they assisted as well and provided the atmosphere. So Ernie's in the Cut is a barber shop out here, a grooming shop. And so we met these youth inside of this grooming shop, and they thoroughly enjoyed themselves. So I'm saying that I was honored to be a part of it. So definitely shout out to TM Landry.
I knew a Lurch once upon a time back in the day, a cat we called Lurch.
Oh yeah?
Yeah. But
yeah.
But huh?
Now I was gonna say this Lurch right here, Adam's family Lurch was skinny. This Lurch right here, he's Lurch, but he's definitely not skinny. And he, what I'm saying, he's a big dude, very talented artist. Shout out to him, real sincere brother. And that's the beauty of a lot of these folks we're working with, man. Just the sincerity. You know what I mean? That outweighs anything sometimes, sincerity and loyalty. Anyway, man, I was just reminiscing.
No, my Lurch was a very different, a suburban rich white kid that looked like the real Lurch, but wished and went extra overboard hard that he could be black, which was a fascinating anyway. Teenage reminiscence. So speaking of which, that was, and I know you're gonna bring up bring us into the book here, but that's what I was saying. I think either just before we went on air at the very beginning, the first time, man, that I tried to pick up Wretched of the Earth, 18 years old.
Wow.
In the middle of the Atlantic Ocean on the USS John F. Kennedy. And I was like, man, I've read Malcolm's autobiography. I read a couple of his books. I'm ready I was like, ready, give it. And I kept,
ready.
You know what I'm saying? And everybody was, everybody talks about Wretched of the Earth. It's like Revolutionary 101. I picked it up and was struggling.
Man.
And then revisiting this chapter last night and this morning, I was like, I see why. Even in my 50s now, I'm like, damn, this is some anyway. So I'm looking forward to this, man.
Man, I was 17 in prison, facing 36 years in South Carolina, and I got this book, Wretched of the Earth. You talking about bad timing? You talking about I really probably won't make it up out of here type shit because of the fact that I'm seeing everything that I was taught, from my parents, but now I'm reading this in print. Now I have time to actually sit down and absorb what it is I'm reading. So for me, it was kind of like that, I don't know, that Malcolm George moment, just picking up Wretched of the Earth. And when you talk about Malcolm and George, those are two people that were inspired by Fanon's work as well. So, shout out to to all the fighters, but yeah, just like you said, struggling through that just because it is so graphic. You understand what I'm saying? And it's not, there's no punches held, and it hits your psyche like nothing before or nothing after. I think, like I said, I think the closest thing to it would probably be like A Blood in My Eye because of the fact that it's along those lines. But I would tell folks, you know, for me, The Wretched of the Earth and Battle of Algiers kind of go hand in hand, you know, in my opinion. But yeah.
No, I think that's a good point. And I just so I just wanted, you know, so folks are clear what, you know, what we're talking about, the cover and everything.
No
You had suggested that we discuss this with Battle of Algiers, and I'm the one that messed it up, because I was just saying I just didn't think I would have time to watch it again before this morning, and I wanted it to be fresh. But I do think we should have a dedicated discussion to a freshly rewatched Battle of Algiers. And I think I'm not the originator of this idea, but I think, I don't know if it was you, maybe Jackie, somebody suggested that we do a live BPM event and watch it. Like,
yeah,
you know, I don't know if there's a copy or we can get away with streaming or whatever, but the point is, or just, I don't know, do some version of that.
Live and direct. Right.
Yeah, and have a big, like anyway, but the point is, it deserves its own revisitation. So that was, you know, anyway, but
yeah, no, without a doubt. And those are two, when I'm talking about political education, you know, those are must reads and must see. You know what I mean? Those are like at the top of the charts, because it provides, to me, the Battle of Algiers brings Wretched of the Earth to it provides some visuals for it. You know, I remember reading The Spook That Sat by the Door. I read the book and then saw the film the next day. But for me, I was more impressed with the book than the film.
Usually, you know that's the case. Yeah.
But here, this kind of, it's again, it's hand in hand, because you can see what revolution is about. You know what I'm saying? That whole,
and no disrespect to the late great Sam Greenlee, who we know had to make that film as a guerrilla. Yes. But Battle of Algiers is made about guerrillas in a very professional way, is the way I would describe it. Like, that film is very well done. Politics aside, my bias aside, just as a standalone film, it is very well done. So
I would compare those two to, like, in comparison, I would say, like, Goodbye Uncle Tom compared to Roots.
Oh, damn. Oh, that's interesting.
You know, that's interesting. I'm keeping it 100. And I interviewed Sam Greenlee before, so you know what I'm saying?
Oh, right on, yeah.
Yeah. And I was disappointed with that interview. I hopefully I can you know, I can find a copy that I definitely aired up here. But it wasn't one of my favorite interviews, I think, because of the fact that I think that he thought that I was going to be coming more, you know, with the questions. I think he was prepared for a more militant, hostile, hate whitey, you know, interviewer. So his response was kind of along the lines of, you know, well, you know, well, white this, and you know, and they didn't, you know, and I'm like, listen, dude, just let me remember. Just keep the book. Let's just talk about the book in the film. You know what I'm saying? Because all this other stuff, I'm sitting there, I'm like, dude, is someone else interviewing you on the other line and you're hearing their questions, because it's not matching up. But anyway.
So let me just get this clear though, real quick. So when you say, when you picked up this book, Locked Up,
yes,
at I think you said 17. You it immediately hit you and resonated, and you were able to digest it, even intellectually. Because I was not. But anyway,
no. I'm not saying a full digest. I think that it kind of
the vibe.
It's to me, okay. Here's an example. I mean, to me, it's like, okay, if you're in a certain area and the people around you don't speak English, but you can feel their revolution. You can feel what they're about. You know what I'm saying? So I didn't totally grasp everything, because of the fact that we're talking about, Fanon was a psychiatrist. You understand what I'm saying? I'm a 17-year-old, you know, and I'm coming out of the streets. I have a degree of politics, but it's not yet honed. You know what I mean? It's still raw. It's unrefined, but I get the gist of what I'm reading. So it might have took me literally each page I might have read 2 or 3 times before I went to the other page.
Mm-hmm.
You understand what I'm saying? Just to kind of grasp. And then with that comes the dictionary. So I'm like, okay, what did he mean by this right here? You know what I'm saying? And then it's like every time I'm reading, it's like, oh, okay, like, because it was that his spirit emanates from the book. You know what I mean? So I think that if you can be in alignment and in tune with individuals based on commonalities or spirit. That's why, I hear folks saying, things like, I don't believe in spirit. Now, I respect you if you say you don't believe in religion. That's cool. But if you don't understand the spirit, that's like saying you don't have an intuition. Intuition, your intuit is kin to your spirit. You know what I'm saying? When you say, when you get that feeling like, I don't think I should go over there. It's not necessarily your mind, because your mind will play tricks on you. You understand what I'm saying? But you have this natural feeling or whatever. And that's kind of how, I related to Frantz Fanon, Wretched of the Earth. Here's a brother that was in Algeria, who, for all practical purposes, transitioned 9 years before I was born. But I was able to relate to him years later. Not even fully understanding or fully grasping what he said, but what I did know is that he was about decolonization. You know what I'm saying? And when we talk about decolonization, I think it's important, for us to define decolonization is a political process that refers to the undoing of colonialism, which is the exploitation and subjugation of a territory, people, or resources by a foreign power. So that was you know what I'm saying? That's what it was for me, man. So I don't know if folks can get that or understand it, man. But it is a part of who you are. It's part of your being. And to me, that's what makes a quote unquote revolutionary. The revolutionary spirit, the political education. Certain things are just natural. It's not a man-made thing. And that's how I feel. But anyway.
No, right on. And for me, revisiting this chapter last night and this morning was perfect, and I appreciated, especially coming on the tails of these conversations we've been having with Coco, Sister Coco,
Okay.
particularly this more recent one around sovereignty and nationhood and nation versus statehood and et cetera and so forth. So just going back through that as Fanon is talking about the decolonial process, the national struggle, the variations that these struggles will take, and what did he mean by nation versus what nation I think means in other contexts. And I don't mean for us to go here, but I'll bring this up when we resume these conversations with her. But I don't think Fanon is saying nation in the same way. But the process and the response, I think, is encouraged to be similar, if not the same. So
No doubt.
Anyway, yeah.
I'm gonna start by introducing Fanon for folks who
go ahead.
familiar.
Absolutely.
Let me start with that. So Frantz Fanon was a Martinican psychiatrist and political philosopher who lived to be the age of 36. That's important. You know what I'm saying? He didn't see 40. He was 36 years old. He was instrumental in the development of post-colonial theory, which seeks to understand the legacy of colonialism and imperialism on both the colonizer and colonized cultures. Of course, he's best known for Black Skin, White Mass and The Wretched of the Earth, which are seminal works of modern cultural studies. Of course, he fought with for the French in World War II, and later received his education in psychiatry in France. And that's where he experienced racism and prejudice because of his blackness. And those experiments is what led to Black Skin, White Mask, him writing it. The book argued that racism caused a split in the mind of Black individuals, forcing them to either accept white superiority or reject it by embracing their Blackness. Frantz Fanon, Wretched of the Earth was written in 1961. And we have to understand that when he wrote this book, he was 31 years old. 31 years old when he wrote this book that we were saying that we couldn't grasp. You know what I'm saying?
And he wrote it over one summer.
Yes, one summer. And I think that it's important to understand also what was going on in 61. In 61, Patrice Lumumba was assassinated. The Algerians were on their way to independence, fighting against the French. So it was a whole lot happening during that time period. And like you said, he wrote this book over that summer. And there was all kinds of activities going on around the world. He was a figure in post-colonial theory and a pioneer of modern cultural studies. And to me, I would argue that Frantz Fanon is a cultural icon. You know what I'm saying? Frantz Fanon is one of the most underrated Africans on the planet. And I would say him and Patrice Lumumba. And sidebar, I had the opportunity to interview both of their daughters right here on Black Power Media. So if you all get the chance, go to RSTV and check out the interview with Mario Fanon, which is Frantz Fanon's daughter, and with Patrice Lumumba's daughter. And I don't know where her name is escaping me right now. But anyway, that's
But
just
shout out to Marielle too. I actually
Yes.
got a chance to chat with her via text when we were in Paris a couple months ago, and I thought we might cross paths. It didn't get to happen, but anyway, yeah.
Word up. But yeah, I mean, you can kind of, if you like to jump into Chapter 1, and we can kind of go over that, and we may just rock for an hour or see how it flows today, hour and a half, whatever, maybe 2. But I want to remind folks in the chat, we have the chat on today. Please don't be disrespectful. You know what I'm saying? Because I know that some folks get excited and you have your critiques and all that. This isn't what Guerrilla Intellectual University is about. We welcome constructive criticism, but don't jump in the chat with your bullshit or you will get timed out. Thank you. I just wanted to point that out. Anyway.
So if I can, there's like I think 6 or 7 points I'm just going to quickly raise and then come back to them as we all see fit or whatever. But just as I was taking some of these notes here, one, that point about he wrote it over the summer, and I'm more impressed by that every time but obviously the chapter is about violence and the national question that we read for today. So the chapter is actually titled On Violence. And I just remember from the jump, again, that I can't help but go back to that first time I read it. It's challenging to be confronted with such an aggressive, it's almost like the first time reading George Jackson. That aggressive defense for armed struggle it's, for me at least, it's in a positive way discomforting, if I could say it that way.
And why you say, why would you say that? Just for,
well, because and I'll go back and find the quote. I have it highlighted somewhere. I think he says, because what he's saying is this is the natural, logical conclusion of what has to happen, and the only way to regain your humanity.
Right.
And it's like, and so I'll just speak for myself. I'm uncomfortable by the accuracy of the analysis. I'm uncomfortable by the fear that it encourages, that I feel at the idea of having to do that. I'm also made uncomfortable by and almost fearful of what I find comforting in that.
Right. But that's important though, Jared. It's important, and that is the thing. That is the thing. they've made revolution comfortable. There's no such thing as a comfortable revolution. In fact, and I'm glad you saying that, because one of the things I think that so many people glorify revolution, right? A lot of these writers, a lot of these folks that hop on YouTube and talk that shit. It's like it sound good in theory. It's entertaining to a degree. You know what I'm saying? But I think that one of the things that Fanon was talking about was, or he was trying to get across, was that you know he refutes the argument that colonized people shouldn't use violence to oppose their colonizer because violence is not inherently moral. He argues that morality is a privilege that is not afforded to the oppressed. You understand what I'm saying? Morality is a privilege that is not afforded to the oppressed. And I think that that is it's when you're downtrodden and you're trying everything, you're marching, you're praying, you're having sit-ins, you're looking for policy changes, and and none of it seems to work. But when you back them up off you, then it's a different type of response and respect. You understand what I'm saying? So yeah, it's absolutely uncomfortable. And me saying that, don't get it twisted. No sane person, wants, blood and carnage. You understand what I'm saying? But at the same time, our love for peace should take us to extreme lengths. You know what I'm saying? Peace, love, freedom. Those are conditions that require extremities. You know what I'm saying? And we don't understand that. So like you said, it's uncomfortable. It should make you uncomfortable, but what they say, why. You know what I'm saying? So,
Listen, my youngest had a track meet this weekend, and it was in a region of this county that is known for its whiteness and its redneckery. And so it was funny because the track meet brings all the black and brown people, so it got real black over there real quick, which was funny to me. But in riding around, like I remember on the way back, I saw some of the local folks with their Trump stickers and their the pickup trucks and I did have again that thought even before we decided to do this, and it's that thought of these they're never like this dude in this truck driving by me right now. He is never trying to hear anything about my humanity, some voting, some redistribution. Let's all work to get this dude ain't never going. And I'm just looking at him like,
yeah. I live in Georgia, Jared.
I know,
what
I'm
I
know,
saying?
I know.
Yeah. And folks think about Atlanta, but these white folks, when you venture out, they will straight up tell you, you ain't in Atlanta no more, boy. You in Georgia. Excuse me, they say Georgia. You know what I'm saying? And they mean that from their soul.
Yes.
This ain't no, and see, it's one thing, because again, as most folks should know by now, I'm from Bridgeport, Connecticut. Shout out to Bridgeport. But it's a different type of reality. You can be from up north, and in your mind, you can say, shit, I ain't gonna take certain things, so on and so forth. Listen, one of our comrades, who is one of the baddest martial artists that I know, under our brother Balagoon, shout out to Balagoon, but our international spokesperson, one time he was not cornered, but he was in a supermarket, and these racist ass cracker, and this dude right here, I mean, he's tall, dark, and he doesn't look like he's a pushover. But these white folks was literally trying to surround him, like they wanted to try him up. And this is a dangerous man, but they don't give two shits, because their pride, their lineage, their bloodline is of the utmost importance. And I think that if we took our culture and had that same drive and authority when it came to it, then they would look at us differently. But like I said, living in Georgia, it's nothing to see trucks with big ass Trump stickers and posters and Confederate flags. I mean, sometimes I ride through different areas. They have caravans of white folks with these big ass Confederate flags flying off the truck, like the ones that be on the buildings and whatnot. And they don't give two shits. You might see nooses hanging from their joints. They don't care. You know what I'm saying? And we could talk all that tough shit you want to, but when your ass is outnumbered, and these motherfuckers, they're hyenas. And one thing that hyenas do is that they don't attack a lion one-on-one. They come in droves, and this is what they do. But anyway,
and this is no, but the point though that I go to from the next step from that is, even in my little thought exercise driving home from the track, was that this is the JV squad. This dude I'm looking at is the JV squad. So when you talk about that caravan,
right,
the real caravan is when they come in them all black SUVs, and it's not a Confederate flag. It's the red, white, and blue flag on that joint, followed by them helicopters.
Worse than the Confederate flag.
And that's what I'm saying. That's the varsity squad, and they're really not messing around. Them hillbillies, that's one thing, and there's some serious white folks. But this other crew, so I'm like,
yeah.
So this is why I really appreciated this next point that I had. But that's the thing, though. I really do. When I see the American flag, when people fly that, to me, it's worse.
Yeah.
And when they come in that black SUV caravan, that's way worse.
Yeah. But that's what it's about. It's about intimidation, because they know that this is, when you see that, it strikes some other sort of fear, because in their mind, you're not ready for the challenge. You know what I'm saying? You can shoot each other up, but you ain't coming up on this SUV, because they look bulletproof just because.
And Fanon, and this is what, and Fanon talks about this in this chapter. He talks about the internecine violence that basically we are too afraid to deal with them, so we turn on each other.
That's right.
But he makes a point in here about guerrilla warfare that I, at least, admittedly for our discussion here, want to soften to my point about electoral politics in the after party. So, for instance, or maybe beyond. But he makes the point in here when he talks about the importance of guerrilla warfare. The way I interpret it, and I'm gonna pull up the passage in a second. He says, again, as I'm paraphrasing, we don't need to get lured into the fantasy and the mythology that we have to match the colonizer resource for resource. In other words, we don't have to get our money right before we engage the enemy. We don't have to get, we're never, in other words, we're never going to amass whether it's financially, militarily, whatever, we're never going to amass what they have, because he talks about, we'll come back to this in another point, the capitalist productive capacity that produces the military might that they're able to bring to bear on us that we can't produce. We don't have the factories. We don't have the shipping lanes. We don't have the endless territory and resources to develop all that weaponry. But we do have the ability, as he says, of the guerrilla. And I would argue for our day and time, or for this public discussion, we have the ability to marshal and move people without resources in ways that they would discourage just out of fear. So so I love that part in rereading this, to say, to get that inspiration. Like, nah, man, people who come to you with this, wait till that perfect moment where we have amassed all of these trillions of dollars. No. We have other ways to move. It's never going to happen.
No, your money won't even matter. But that's the beauty of guerrilla warfare, right? I mean, because of the fact that you're coming with limited resources, and you're obtaining your resources either from the enemy or from the people. You know what I'm saying? You're not coming with a truckload of whatever. You're in a situation, you got to figure out how to move, and that is where the successful quote unquote rebellions lie. Not in you just coming with some major military. This is how the Cuban Revolution was won. This is how Dedan Kamathi and the quote unquote Land of Freedom Party got down. Land of Freedom Army, and this is how, so many others, the Patrice Lumumba, so on and so forth, Che Guevara. This is what it's about, and if you're not ready for that, all that shit about the money is a cop out. You know what I'm saying? You're not getting any grants to fight white supremacy. Let's not get it twisted. You know what I'm saying? These folks aren't giving you money to combat them literally. You know what I'm saying? They're giving you enough to make you feel as if you're advancing. And it's sort of like the vote. That's how this nonprofit industry is to a great extent. You know what I'm saying? They're making you feel like you can yell, you can fight. Yes, we're going to resist. Let's create these banners. Let's do this, so on and so forth. But you're not going to get any real resource through that. You're not going to obtain any real victory. At the most, you'll get some type of policy change. And even if the policy change, it'll still be in their favor. You know, so.
And this is the part here where I'll just share this part because the screen for this part where he's talking about, and I know we want to come to this discussion too about the reformist leaders and the sort of the colonial intellectuals and all of that. But he says here, in fact, the reformist leaders say the same thing. What do you expect to fight the colonists with? Your knives, with your shotguns? You know, we don't have the power that they have. What are you going to do? And he's saying no, or he said, well, yeah, we are going to do that. That we don't, you know, we can do it that way. And he makes the important point of showing how the concept of the guerrilla and the concept of decolonial, anti-colonial struggle had been internationalized. So to your point, when he makes reference, Fanon does, to Mau Mau and to other, and to the victory of the Vietnamese over the French at Dien Bien Phu, he's saying those victories become globally important and relevant to all of us in that same struggle. They represent all of our capabilities. And I'm like, yeah, I'm like, this is, woo, start getting amped, you know.
It's
anyway,
ill though, because it's like, it reminds me of Digital Underground. All around the world, same song. It's just the same old song. It's
or Wars, the world is a ghetto.
Word up. But it's the same excuses over and over again. You know what I mean? We can't fight because boom, boom, boom. It's too many of them. You know what I'm saying? They you know, they got money. We can't beat them. As if, but when you hear that, this is a person who clearly hasn't studied history. Because all quote unquote empires fall, empires rise, and empires fall. Nothing lasts forever on this planet. You know what I'm saying? I mean, even life, you know, life forms become extinct. You know, so for you to say, okay, boom, we can't dismantle, we can't decolonize, it's like it's a defeatist attitude out the gate. And I'm not, you know, it's ain't a tough guy thing. And I think that that's the beauty of what Fanon was talking about as well, because I think a lot of people get it twisted and think that he's glorifying violence. And that's not the case at all. He's saying, look, if we try, you know, what's your man, who's that? Was it Arafat that said, I come to you with an olive branch and was it a 45 or 44? He said, don't make me drop the olive branch. You know what I'm saying? It's like, look, I'm coming to you in peace.
Not sure, but
yeah, I'm coming to you in peace, but you know, we can get a piece if you want to. You know what I'm saying? And this is what I think most African people, most of our freedom fighters talked about. We confuse revolution for hatred. But it's as Che was talking about, it is an act of love. You know what I'm saying? For folks like me, I'm involved in our people's liberation movement, not because I think I'm tough or bold, or not because I'm angry. It's because the ultimate goal is peace. You know what I'm saying? I think it's a criminal act for folks to disrupt other people's peace. You understand what I'm saying? I think that's the highest, if you're going to talk about a sin or something, disrupting a person's peace, putting fear, instilling fear into the folks, you know what I'm saying? Terrorizing them. That's a criminal act, you know? So anyway, man, don't mind me. I'm all
no, I mean, but that's important. And Fanon, you know, one thing that I always like to remind, and he references Césaire, you know, Fanon was not only someone who had been to war and someone who was a psychiatrist and well-studied, but he was also someone who was a reader of poetry. And that's another thing that infuses his writing, and something every time I read it, I'm reminded of the failures of my own. Like, one of the reasons is I don't read poetry. I don't read enough poetry, and I think that inhibits and worsens. Anyway, so anyway, but one of the points that Fanon makes is that in this chapter even is that the initial violence is that of the colonizer, is the colonial repression. It is the conditions that people are forced into. So there's even, I was going to try to find it real quick, where he's asking, and I think it's in the part where he's asking, what is violence? He starts a sentence by asking, what is violence? But the point is, throughout the chapter and really all of his work, it's this idea that colonialism is violent, capitalism is violent, the process that puts people in this condition is violent. So, and that's why he's saying the only way to return to your humanity is through a violent overthrow, as he says, standing over the body of your colonizer, something like that. Right. And this is somebody, he had seen war. He had seen the conflict. He had studied even black skin, white masks, if I remember correctly, is birthed out of his work trying to psychologically help white French soldiers who were coming back from the war destroyed psychologically. And he's trying to figure out what is and then he starts to see this is part of the colonial process. So he's looking at the violence of the physical violence of war. He's seeing the psychological violence from both both as it's played out on the colonizer and on the colonized. And he's offering up what I think is a again, which is what for me is the scary part, because it is a logical conclusion.
Yes.
If I could read what he's saying and be like, man, this is, you're not, your steps don't conclude. Your what did Fred say? Your conclusions don't conclude. Then it would be less terrifying. But
yeah. And one of my favorite parts of that chapter too is actually on page 2, where he's talking about decolonization. He's talking about decolonization never goes unnoticed, for it focuses on and fundamentally alters being and transforms the spectator crushed to a non-essential state into a privileged actor, captured in a virtually grandiose fashion by the spotlight of history. It infuses a new rhythm specific to a new generation of men with a new language and a new humanity. Decolonization is truly the creation of new men, but such a creation cannot be attributed to a supernatural power. The thing colonized becomes a man through the very process of liberation. And he goes on to say, decolonization therefore implies the urgent need to thoroughly challenge the colonial situation. Its definition can, if we want to describe it accurately, be summed up in the well-known words, the last shall be first. He said, decolonization is verification of this at the descriptive level. Therefore, any decolonization is a success. So he goes on to talk about, the what you bam right there. You know what I'm saying? I'm sorry, I was reading from my book directly.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to throw that up because right on.
But what you highlighted alone, man, let's talk about that. I mean, it is in its bare reality. Decolonization reeks of red hot cannonballs and bloody knives, for the last can be the first only after murders and a decisive confrontation between the two protagonists. Now, that other part I was reading about turning the spectators into actors and the spotlight of history shining on them. I think that it's important, particularly for this modern generation, this current generation right now. A lot of folks, and I'm not just talking about the so-called youth, but quote unquote elders as well. A lot of these folks look at this in a fantasy type way, and they think that they can talk their way out of this, or you can write your way out of it, or you can read your way out of it. That's not what he's talking about. It's like, you're gonna have to participate. Decolonization it involves observation and participation, as Yui said. It's not just, you talking shit and that's just going to change it, or you just going to wait for someone else. I know he talked about a magic wand. It's not going to change with a magic wand or no hocus pocus. You got to get dirty. You know what I'm saying? You got to get bloody. It's ugly, you know, but folks talk about this thing like it's, you know, like it's, you know, a movie, you know, so.
Yeah, for sure. I was trying to find, I can't find that one part anyway. I knew it was going to happen like that. But yeah, it's definitely not a movie, and and that's why, and that's why I keep trying to describe it this way. I'm trying to be very honest about how I've reacted to it, and what I think it encourages also in others in terms of their responses, and why, because Fanon could be at one time one of the most referenced people in academia and journalism. And I forgot at one point it was even noted that in one of these research engines, he was among the top referenced or cited resources in academia. But so many can do that without encouraging, I guess, in other words, the same could not be said. And all right, so let me do it this way. So just in the part you were reading there about what Fanon was saying about the violence in the streets and the murderousness and all that, it reminded me of what George Jackson says in Blood in My Eye about us having to get used to the smell of burnt rubber and flesh and all this other, and that kind of thing. But the flip side is, and I think George writes in a very similar way, at least to me, like a very beautifully powerful, clearly influenced by deep theoretical, philosophical, and poetic work, but with a with a hammer in it,
Right.
but at the same time, George would never be referenced as much as Fanon. In other words, somehow I feel like people can get away with referencing Fanon by not talking about the core of what he was advocating in a way, and because he wrote more, published more, in a way that they could not get away with George. In other words, maybe because he hadn't written as much or published as much, and because George was too direct and focused, you can't do as much with it and avoid him in the way that Fanon is avoided. Anyway, not a well thought out point I'm making, but somewhere in there is.
You're right, but I think that part of that too is I think part of it too is the fact that George is more relatable for Africans in America, because we all know brothers that have been locked up. You know what I'm saying? And he takes it a little more hardcore than Malcolm. Malcolm was more refined, right? And George was more unrefined. You know what I mean? Fanon was a psychiatrist in Algiers. You know what I mean? So it's different because the quote unquote African American oftentimes won't look beyond the waters. You understand what I'm saying? Folks are, a lot of these folks that study, they quote Malcolm, they quote the Black Panther Party, they quote, Martin, so on and so forth. But a lot of these folks who are quote unquote narrow nationalists, you don't hear them talking about Patrice Lumumba. You don't hear them talking about Dessalines or Didon Kamati or Frantz Fanon. So Frantz Fanon is almost mythological to some folks. And on top of that, George is an easier read. So oftentimes, folks won't take the time to get a full understanding. So yeah, the Academy will certainly quote Fanon, but the Academy oftentimes will, if they quote George, or if they're on George, then that means that you have to deal with political prisoners. The issue of political prisoners. If you deal with the issue of political prisoners, then that's a different level, because now you're overtly challenging the state. Because it's not abstract. This is like, okay, boom, this is what's going on in the prison. If Angela Davis was serious about quoting George, and she dealt with that particular joint right there in a level and in a manner that George was doing it, then she wouldn't be who she is today.
So speaking of which, I saw this comment. Shout out to Mama Julia, right?
Yes,
Check
Mama
Mumia's
Julia, what's
commentaries on Fanon. So this is an interesting point. And I'd actually made a note of this as I was preparing for this morning, because, and I don't mind, I will continue to share this story as often as possible because I'm still bitter about it. This section here from Fanon is quoted in at least one commentary. I don't remember the specific one from Mumia, that I and Dr. Todd Stephen Burrows were made reference to in a chapter in an article that never got published because Professor Eric King Watts refused to publish this article because he kept saying that I had not made the case for a reference to Fanon and internal colonialism in an article about Mumia's essays. And I was citing a Mumia commentary where he quotes this exact passage from Fanon in discussing colonialism, Black America, and the police. And Watts still refused to acknowledge that I had risen to his arbitrary level of justification for the use of making a point. So he never published the article. And it's this point here. The colonized world is divided in two. The dividing line, the border, is represented by the barracks and the police station. In the colonies, the official legitimate agent, the spokesperson for the colonizer and the regime of oppression, is the police officer or the soldier. In capitalist societies, education, whether secular or religious, the teaching of moral reflexes handed down from father to son, the exemplary integrity of workers decorated after 50 years of loyal, faithful service, and fostering love and harmony of wisdom, those aesthetic forms of respect for the status quo would still be in the exploited a mood of submission and inhibition, which considerably eases the task of the agents of law and order. So we not only get the phrase now made famous by our good buddy Dick, pause, Wolf, just jokes, a little Monday morning joke, Dick Wolf. And
I thought you talking about Dick Nixon.
Dick Nixon too, but
Yeah.
but more famously by the producer Wolf at this point. But yeah, Nixon
Right,
too.
going on, right.
All puns intended, all
Oh,
pauses and jokes intended. We just having a little brief fun here. My bad. I hate this is one
No,
thing
I
I don't
don't,
like
I don't know
about
what Jared's talking about, but anyway, good.
You don't know what I'm talking about. But this is my point, though. This was the passage that I referenced and that Dr. Burrows and I referenced that was blocked from that article because, you know, of the trifling colonial intellectuals that Fanon is ultimately talking about in this essay. And this is exactly in this chapter, which is another point that I wanted us to come to that I know is an important feature of this show as well, that he makes 2 points that I wanted to raise about that very quickly here, that we, at least very initially, is that what I love that Fanon does is he points out, and it's a beautiful, I think, a beautiful principled criticism of Marx and Engels, one, by saying that a strict critique of capitalism is not sufficient, and that as he describes in this chapter, capitalism is about the management, the overt management of the colonial process. And then as I made a note, and we maybe come back to this, just is my own narrow focus, is that the Black capitalist subset of that is part of what Fanon is talking about here, managing the colonial experience, managing and giving people an outlet that allows them to not deal with the fundamental colonial reality, and therefore, as we were just talking about, find alternatives, solutions that will never solve the problem. And then secondarily to that is this role of the colonial intellectual that is supposed to distill in a very safe way the national liberatory desires of the people in ways that, again, will lead to solutions that don't solve anything, that don't get us anywhere, and in fact protect their position in this society. And that little individual suffered experience that me and Dr. Burrows got carried out directly, explicitly, because Watts kept saying, I don't agree with the colonialism comparison, and I don't think you've explained it. And even when demonstrating how Mumia himself was saying, making the comparison, because it was about Mumia.
Right.
Here we go. We can't publish it. All the collapsing realities, Fanon, anti-colonialism, dealing with political prisoners, and the colonial intellectual playing the role in a setting where he's denying colonialism is actually at play. It was
I mean, how
anyway.
can, I mean, the mere denial of colonialism being at play proves that that colonialism exists. You understand what I'm saying? The whole, it is a byproduct of that. The fact that you think it doesn't exist is proof that it exists. I mean, just when you're reading it and when you're talking about it, I'm thinking about all the gatekeepers. I'm thinking about the petty bourgeois, the comprador class, and just looking at this thing, it's like it's all around. It's like all of these folks are agents, not just the police, not just the military, but some of these attorneys, some of these folks that quote unquote in movement and struggle, some of these folks who are out there trying to quell the situation, some of these folks who are talking about, can't we all just get along? You know what I'm saying? These are all agents of repression, you know, because they're taking checks, they're being paid off to douse the flames. You know what I'm saying? But the thing is, there'll come a time when someone's going to trade that water in for some gasoline, and you're going to think you dousing the flames, but you're only going to turn it up. And if you get too close, you're going to mess around and get burnt yourself. So that's what I'm saying. So yeah, that fella that you're talking about, indeed.
Yeah, I'm never gonna forget that. Eric King White. If Fanon in the very next page calls them confusion mongers. I love like the
fusion mongers.
In fact, let me just share that real quick because he this is exactly the back up here. In capitalist countries, a multitude of sermonizers, counselors, and confusion mongers intervene between the exploited and the authorities. In colonial regions, however, the proximity and frequent direct intervention by the police and the military ensure the colonized are kept under close scrutiny and contained by the rifle butts and napalm. So now I know I'm not going to do this part justice, and maybe you or I would need some better help here or more time to parse this out. But Fanon is making a distinction, one, as I read it, between what capitalism does within a colonial setting and managing colonialism, but then he also draws this distinction between the locations. So in the metropole, in the city centers where the settlers are, that's the that's the capitalist setting, and it allows for the settler and its neo-colonial appointed leadership and intellectuals to feel like that they're doing something and engage. But in the colonies themselves, whereas we would just maybe say in the United States, the hoods, they have a very different experience. It's a more blunt, overt, direct, hostile experience that can't be so easily described away by the confusion mongers in the capitalist centers. So as I was rereading that again, and I'm thinking about all of this black capitalist nonsense that keeps getting promoted, it's like this is the new wave, or the improved effort by those in power to extend the reach of that capitalist illogic to the colonies, to the hoods themselves, by getting these black capitalist spokespeople to wrap themselves in this black powerful beauty and carry that message back to the, but anyway, that's something in there. Yeah.
No, I think that just hearing you and making an effort too, because you can get caught up in a paragraph, because literally we could have did a whole show in a paragraph, not the chapter.
Well, that's facts too. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because it's we have to look at vantage point as well. right? So when he's talking about the metropole compared to these colonies and whatnot, I think that here in the U.S., to a great extent, a lot of the quote unquote black capitalism you spoke about, it's not really marketed to certain sectors.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? Folks call themselves organizers, but they don't go into certain areas and arenas. You know what I'm saying? Because it's not safe. You know, so I think that there is a different reality. I think I was talking about in one of our earlier GIUs, just organizing in a spot where you had $5 prostitutes. You understand what I'm saying? That's a different reality when someone's willing to sell their body for your pleasure for $5. You understand what I'm saying? When folks are living in abandoned buildings or sleeping on the streets in dilapidated uh, zones, the quote unquote mutual aid is not coming to them because of the fact that it's just too safe. I mean, excuse me, it's not safe enough. So many folks they reside or they preside over the quote unquote safe zones, and you only hear about certain cases. Such and such was murdered by the police. You're not actually going to the hood where they are. These folks are organizing in different areas. You are purposely protesting in certain arenas because of the fact that you don't have your finger on the pulse of these particular areas. So again, when it comes to black capitalism, you have folks who aren't eating at all. So they're not even receiving your message. And to a great extent, a lot of the quote unquote organizers choose to ignore these folks. They ignore the street organizations. They ignore the quote unquote impoverished communities, because it's not fashionable. And you're not going to be flashing your camera in certain areas. You're not even going to check your camera out because somebody might snatch it from you. You know what I'm saying? Because they don't have nothing to lose. So I think that's kind of that's my interpretation of what he's talking about. And I don't know, I haven't been to where he was at. You know what I'm saying? But that's just how I kind of view it.
So I think similarly, at least, I think so when he's talking, oh man, come on. When he's what happened? When he's talking about here we go. The relationship of capitalism and colonialism. Again, to the extent I think I understand, this is the point I was trying to get at, that as he says here, capitalism therefore objectively colludes with the forces of violence that erupt in colonial territories. Moreover, the colonized subject is not alone in the face of the oppressor. And I added this note: black capitalism especially is meant to collude with the forces of violence that erupt in colonial territories. Damn. The Conference of Berlin was able to carve up a mutilated Africa among 3 or 4 European flags. Currently, the issue is not whether an African region is under French or Belgian sovereignty, but whether the economic zones are safeguarded. Artillery shelling and scorched earth policy have been replaced by economic dependency. So again, as I'm reading this, he's talking about this in the context of an expanding imperialism and capitalism, and saying that colonialism can't expand and survive in its rawest form. It must evolve a capitalism to manage it, to organize the exploitation, in part because you can't just keep in a raw way exploiting the colonized, because as he talks about in this section, they have to be turned into markets who will consume the very products they're helping to produce through the exploitation of their labor and the extraction of their raw materials for development into marketable products in the so-called first world, and then redistributed back to the colonies for sale and redistribution. So in other words, capitalism, and as I'm thinking about Black capitalism, has to be advocated as a mechanism of managing just what he's saying here, that the artillery shelling and scorched earth policy have been replaced by economic dependency. In other words, instead of rebelling violently, instead of engaging in armed struggle and guerrilla warfare, the colonized will become dependent on the capitalist economic relationship with the metropole or the mother country. Right. And that's why so much of the confusion mongering has to be encouraged, so that we don't fight and that we do find hope. Right. And that's why somebody would even tell us, you can't be talking about no colonialism, because we have hope in this capitalist society.
So along with that goes, give them Obama, give them Kamala, give them Katanji. You understand what I'm saying? Because make it Black girl magic. Because they are sick of old white men running this country. You know what I'm saying? Put a Black woman in charge. You know what I'm saying? Bring some rappers on board. Let's invite Jay-Z to the White House and Beyonce, and have them go to Cuba to try to set Assad up. Invite Common to the White House. Oops, hold on. He made a song about Assad. Scratch him off. You know what I'm saying? Invite Kanye to the White House, Trump. You know what I'm saying? Steve Harvey, all these other folks. So they give you this illusion of inclusion, and that's part of the whole trickery of capitalism. Make you feel like you are part of the system, when in fact you are a victim of the system. When in fact you are the step ladder to the system. You know what I'm saying? Because and put it in layman terms, you are the hose of the establishment. It is a pimp hose system. And no matter how much money you get in this particular colony, you're still a hoe. Either you're a high price hoe or you a po hoe. And that's just the reality of it. You know what I'm saying? And some of you might not like the rather blunt words, but it's the truth. So, I mean, this is how they look at us.
Yeah. Just quickly, and then just to make sure, looking at the clock, I just want to make sure a couple other points that I at least wanted to raise. One was that we have to remember, and I thought that there was, and I couldn't find exactly where I made my note about this, of course, but in the text itself, but we have to remember that Fanon is writing this during the Cold War, before the collapse of the Soviet Union, and where he saw the Soviet Union and China as alternative threats to U.S. hegemony in the world, and something that could, that if I read him correctly, could play a positive role in some way in destabilizing things and making room for anti-colonial struggle. So I just have a note here that just to raise for you and us to consider, or just to throw out there. What does the collapse of the Soviet Union do to his analysis, if we're trying to update it for today? And what updates or whatever do we need to incorporate into that? And then the other tricky part that he talks about here, which I think is always an issue for us trying to organize among the African diaspora, is that Fanon is very, very clear in his hostility to religion in this section as well. The only other point that I have, and I'm happy to come back to any of these, is that I couldn't help, and I know this is totally out of the context of Fanon, but I had just watched and read something about the conclusion of that series that apparently not a lot of people like, that Steve Carell was in, called The Patient. And I don't know if you saw this thing, and I am going to be, so spoiler alert, because I think it's important here. It came out last year, so it's been out long enough. So spoiler alert, so just in case everybody needs a quick moment to hit mute or walk away from the screen for a second. The point of The Patient is Carell is a therapist who is taken hostage by someone who is disturbed and a serial killer, and wants Steve Carell to perform therapy while Carell is chained in this guy's basement. and help him help this guy not continue to kill people. It's fascinating. I think it's fascinating. And David Alan Grier shows up as a memory in Carell's mind, which I thought was interesting for him as an actor. But the point is, Carell at the end decides, I have to kill this guy if I'm going to get out of here. My only hope is to kill this guy. And he takes a toothpaste container and sharpens the edge of it, which is something I don't know if I would have thought of. It was pretty deep. That was pretty slick. And sharpens it to the point where he can use it as a knife. Takes the mother of this guy hostage because he lives in the house. As long story, but he takes her hostage and holds this thing up to her throat to the point where it's puncturing her, and saying, "You got to let me out." To her son, the killer, the serial killer, "You have to let me out, or I'm going to kill her." Like. But then you can see, and they take you through some interesting acting, directing, writing. You see in the end, he can't do it. And he is himself killed. And I thought, this is exactly what Fanon is saying. This is exactly the fear I have personally in reading this. Maybe it's my own doubts. In that moment, would I have killed her? Because as you're watching it, it's like, but what if I don't succeed in killing her? Then he's definitely going to kill me. Maybe there's like, you could start to play with, like, could I really kill this woman? Mm-hmm. She's not fully as guilty as all these things. And the point is, though, as Fanon's point is, you have to, or you will die. And that's what I thought was very clear in that Steve Carell acted, which is why I think many people think they didn't like it, but they didn't like it because the conclusion is what you don't like. It's not only an unhappy ending, but it's telling you ain't no negotiating with this dude. He's not listening to logic. You can't reason with him. You can't talk your way out of this. You can't get him to see. You can't even, while you're holding his mother, you can't even get him to democratically see he is outnumbered by 2 to 1 who want him to stop doing what he's doing. He's not going to stop. And you don't have the capability to make him stop. So then you die. And that's what I think. Anyway, so I'll stop there. But I was just like, wow, that's where I was getting ready for today.
No, and it's on point, because it's the ruthless nature of the oppressor. It is the ruthless nature of the settler, that, as Fanon would say, that out demonstrates and overpowers us because of the fact that we still have such humanity when it comes to our oppressor. Humanity that's absent when it comes to our people. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, one of the things that Balagoons talks about, he said humans would do more for to escape pain than to gain pleasure. You understand what I'm saying? And that's where we are. The pleasure would be in our victory. The pleasure would be our peace. The pleasure would be our happiness. But that pain, that fear, because we already saw psychologically, and that's where the psychological and the physical aspects of this thing go hand in hand, because we've already seen how vicious and how ruthless that these people can be. So much so that some would even argue that not only do they lack humanity, but some would even argue if they're human at all, because there's only a few life forms that just kill for sport. Like a dog will rip a cat apart. The dog doesn't want to eat the cat. He just innately hates the cat. You understand what I'm saying? You never seen a dog just eat a cat. But most other animals that hunt and kill, they do it to eat, for survival. You understand what I'm saying? But I've seen like a pack of dogs just rip a cat apart. And just they get so happy. They literally will shit all over the place after they just rip this dog, because they're so excited about ripping this cat apart. And this is what we're dealing with this with the colonizer. You know what I'm saying? It is about our annihilation. So when someone like Kamal Cambone, when he stood up at that piece in DC and talked about exterminating white folks, I mean that was like
So remember, so I was there that day, right? So I was on the podium, I was on the panel with him, right? And we were there
Word.
all day. It was fun. I'll never forget this either.
Oh
And
boy,
as I'm
tell that story.
so first of all, it was confusing because I didn't know. I thought we were being invited to a post-Katrina discussion of Black activists and journalists and or whatever organizers to discuss what we were going to do.
Right.
What would our collective? That's what I thought I was showing up to that day at Howard's Law School. I get there and turn out it's a CNN, C-SPAN televised panel with all of these people, including the late great Chokwe Lumumba and many others who were there.
Delani
I mean,
Amon
it was
as well. Shout out to
Delani Amon was there. There was I can't remember everybody. I'm probably forgetting some other luminaries. It was a powerful. And my initial reaction was I was disappointed in the organized Opio Saccone was the brother's name.
Right.
I was like, Opio, like what are you doing, man? Like I was really confused by what was going on, but I didn't leave. I stayed. Long panel, hours and hours of people's presentations. And I remember my wife showed up to pick me up, take me home finally. And I'm starting to get up to walk away to leave the podium. And Cambone was just walking up to the mic. And as I'm walking past him, he whispers, "Hold up, brother. You don't want to miss this." I said, okay. So I was standing in the back of the room.
Right.
And what people will forget, and of course, most of the clips that I've seen on YouTube don't include, if you have to really watch his entire commentary, because for whatever we may feel about his conclusion, he lays out his logic. There is a clear rationale that he put together before he said what he said. Now, admittedly, I was in the back of the room and I was uncomfortable. It's like, you on camera talk about we got to kill white folks.
Right.
And everybody in the room was kind of like,
sex and chocolate. Yeah.
And honestly,
I saw it live.
Yeah.
That's the thing that was crazy about I wasn't there, but watching it, I was like, wait, and admittedly, I had smoked a spliff while I was watching it. So I was like,
I felt like we all had at that point. I was like, wait a minute.
Then he repeated it. I was like, oh.
He did. He said, I don't think you heard me, or something like that. He was like, he doubled down on it. He was like, let me get, and again,
I was like, he's right, but go ahead.
Well, for me, it wasn't a question of the accuracy. It was, should this have been said in front of a camera?
Right.
Should this have been, whatever. But again, honestly, what also I think maybe bothered is too strong a word, but what I don't know bothered me at the time, and maybe still to this day, is that the steps he was taking to reach his conclusion were ignored.
Right.
And it's like, well, again, myself included, we don't always have to feel comfortable with that conclusion. But let's look at what he was saying to get him there. Like, what is happening in this world that would make somebody reach this conclusion, as Fanon in his day had reached in his own way? Like, what makes someone? And then I think, honestly, because it comes up in circles all the time, that Fanon would end up marrying a white woman.
Right.
I don't know enough about him personally or his life. I don't know what has been said or said about that publicly, or what has been analyzed about that. I think it's fascinating. And I also think, because there's something, I'll share this too. My mother once said, and I will regret that I'll never have the chance to get this clear. My mother once said she never fully understood my father. So that is, my white mother never said she understood fully my Black father until she read Black Skin, White Mask.
Wow.
And I never followed up with her. Maybe I didn't want to know what she meant at the time. I don't know. It's too,
Right.
She's not capable of answering at this point with, that dementia's a beast, boy, I tell you. But
Right.
but I've always been like, what did that mean? But the point is, how does Fanon reach this conclusion, still make his choices? How does he differentiate that? But my point would still be, and this is really where I was going, for someone who would still be willing to engage in personal relationships with a white woman or a partner, to still have been able to reach the conclusion that at least some of them gotta go. Right. What does that mean in terms of what's happening to them? Anyway,
well, you know, yeah. and again, and you know, it's funny because I was this whole time I was waiting.
Okay, hold on. I'm sorry to cut you off. With all due respect, that would be the same. I think this is not much different than people saying, well, my mother is technically a Jew and therefore not white, because many Jews themselves felt that way. I don't think that holds, but okay, fair enough. I hear you. I stand. I'll happily accept that if I need to be corrected on that. My bad, Kalaj. Sorry.
I really was, you know, to be honest with you, that's one of the things that always comes up. You know what I'm saying? And for me, I say that humans have contradictions. Mm-hmm. You understand what I'm saying? We all have contradictions. If we were to be honest, everyone in the chat has some type of contradiction. You understand?
No, not our chat. Come on,
my bad. I forgot. Not the remixes.
Not the remixes. There's no errors and no contradictions there. Come on.
Hey. Especially during the remix morning show.
No. Especially.
It's a little tame here, but I'm just saying, during the remix morning, I apologize. Let me speak for myself.
Yeah.
I have contradictions, you know, but I would say, you know, and I'm not into white women, you know what I'm saying? So, you know, that's not my contradiction. But what I will say is that you know, we have to look at the individuals, and we got to see if the good outweighs the bad, right? And we got to take the things that are of benefit. It's just like with anything else. There's certain things. I've never met a human on the planet, nor have I ever studied anyone's work that I agree with 100%. Not one person. Not my mother, not my father, you know what I'm saying? Not revolutionaries that I, you know, that I raise up. I've never met any individual that I agree with totally. But I think that you know, I ask a lot of critics when they critique certain individuals, what has been your contribution to our liberation movement? What have you done for African people? And if yours doesn't match that, then let's work on that part. You know what I'm saying? Again, when the man wrote Wretched of the Earth, he was like 31 years old. And he wrote Black Skin, White Mask before that. So I would argue he was probably late 20s when he wrote that book. You know what I'm saying? Here it is. Here we are. That's what, 1961? We're like what, 50 years plus, 60 years, 62 years, I believe, since the writing of this book. Is that right? Is it 62 years?
I'm trying to do the math in my head, which is stupid. I don't know why when I have a calculator right here. So we're 2023 minus 1961.
Yeah, my math might be
is 62. 62. Okay. Very good. Right. Very good. I'd have never been able to do that. Well done.
Well, good. Well, I'm glad. I know some of y'all are like, hey, he don't even know the count. 62 years. We're going over his work 62 years later. Literally, damn near 50 something, 5 or 58 or whatever years after his death. I don't care who he married. That's not my personal shit. What you eat don't make me use the bathroom. But what I do know is that as far as being a Black man here in the United States, that his impact and his work has been seen through many of our quote unquote leaders, from Malcolm to the Black Panther Party to so many others. You know what I mean? So I'm looking at it from that particular angle. What is it that he's brought to the table? You know, so that's how I see.
No, I'm with you on that. And really, well, I knew it was going to come up, but I really only wanted to bring it up in the context of my regret around that question to my mother. Like, I really would. I'm fascinated to. I would love to know what she meant by that. But I think your point is exactly right. And somebody in the chat, I think I even started. I'll take Fanon and his wife over Beyonce and Jay-Z any day. Like, I think to a certain point, like, we have to get where I think you're encouraging us to get. We have to focus more on the public contribution and the work. And I'm less interested in, because some of these contradictions are these beautifully heavily melanated couples and people happily engage in some of the worst forms of politics. So, but anyway, in any event, I think contradictions or whatever, the work is and the analysis is still, I think, largely correct, regardless of what Fanon did when he wasn't writing it. And yeah, let's hit that like button.
There's a brother in the chat now, and again, I typically ignore the chat, but he's talking about how, with all due respect, talking about revolution is not revolution. I'll accept that, but neither is typing in the chat about someone talking about revolution not being revolution. You know what I'm saying? So this is called Guerrilla Intellectual University, and our efforts is we're not going to get on the internet or anywhere else.
We on YouTube. Like,
exactly. What do you want us to do? You want to pull out an AR? What do you want us to do? You want us to,
then what?
You want us to start fighting? You want us to yell? You want to indict ourselves? What you trying to do, my man? You know what I'm saying? What's the chatting about, bro? What's the deal? We hear you talking about it. I'm in these streets. You know what I'm saying? And I organize. I don't know you, but you watching us. So while we accept criticism, it's quite obvious that talking about revolution ain't revolution. You know what I'm saying? Talking about cooking ain't eating. What does that mean? You know what I'm saying?
We invited you all to a discussion of Fanon on our YouTube platform. Nobody said I don't recall the flyer saying me and Kalaji starting the revolution today at 8 a.m. on Black Power Media. Like,
knock it off, man. I mean, you sound kind of suspect. I don't want to say nothing like that, but I'm just saying.
I love those comments. Always to me, those are the ones when I'm even in a heated argument, when people say that, it brings me back to calm, because then I'm like, okay, now I know you're not serious. When you say stupid,
I mean, I'm organizing, homie. Show us what you doing so we can learn from you. I watch his show. You know what I'm saying? You want to talk? Show us revolution on the internet. If you down for that? But that sound reactionary to me. You know what I'm saying? It's a cat named Grandmaster Jay that's locked up right now. He was all in the YouTube. You know what I'm saying? Then they accuse him of pointing a weapon at the police. Now, I don't know if he did that or not, but if he did, I say that's stupid. You know what I'm saying? And that's just it. And what Tupac said in Juice, he said, "Are you trying to say I ain't shit?" He said, "I tell your mama you ain't shit." You know what I'm saying? So what we talk about? What's the chatting about, fam? We here 8 o'clock on a Monday morning, and we looking to inspire the masses, so people learn through inspiration, aspiration, or desperation. We're not desperate around here, but I believe that we're inspired. You know what I'm saying? By this brother's work. That's all I'm saying. And usually I don't let people, interrupt the joint. But anyway,
no, it's all good, because this is the point that Anthony D is pointing out here, that the chat has no contradictions. They are full-blown revolutionaries in a constant state of revolution.
Shit. I mean,
that is hilarious.
I'll go as far as say that me being in movement for 37 years, I'm still a student. You understand what I'm saying? I got OGs, original guerrillas, and elders that I go to to consult and for advice, so on and so forth. And I got young brothers and sisters who are part of our organization that I learned from. So, this ain't a revolution. It's Black Power Media, my man.
So one thing I did want to come back to is his discussion of religion, and I did want to ask you in particular, and I thought it was good that we're both on here for this because I think politically we're very much in line, and but you are a practicing Muslim, you are a believer of Islam. I think as I get older, more aggressively embracing atheism and a hostility to religion. I think I might need to even get some I might need some help on that because I think I might be going too far. But the point is, I did, but Fanon is like he equates Christianity to DDT and a pesticide. He's very hostile to religion and its impact on people. So I did want to ask you, how does that section resonate with you? How do you, as someone who is clear, where you are politically, how does your religion, I do want a church though. That's right. But
right.
but
I don't
talk a little bit about that if you would.
Yeah, for me, I take El Hajj Malik Shabazz's stance. Go in the closet, put your religion on the shelf. You know what I'm saying? We deal with commonalities. I don't. Again, whatever the next brother or sister or other does or believe or inspires them to be who they are, I unite with that. You understand what I'm saying? Now, I admittedly, I was anti-Islam and all of that. You know what I'm saying? But I was inspired by folks like Imam Jamil Al-Amin. You know what I'm saying? I was inspired by folks like Mumia and Matulu and Bilal Sunni Ali and Sekou Odinga and Jalil Muntakim and so many others that fought for us. I don't get into arguments about religion because, see, the thing is, most people I know, they'll quote Garvey, who's a Christian. They'll quote Malcolm, who's a Muslim. They'll quote Patrice Lumumba, who's a Muslim. They'll quote Odinga. You know what I'm saying? All of these different individuals, But my particular stance on that is, again, I take what's good for me and the rest I leave on the shelf. You know what I'm saying? Most people will be like, oh, I didn't know you was into this. I didn't know you, because certain things are personal. You feel what I'm saying? I am motivated. I don't think that anyone can say that I don't contribute to our movement, to our liberation movement, that I made no contributions. You understand what I'm saying? Regardless of what faith I have or don't have. You know what I mean? So to me, that's the sidetracking of the slave. Because we're sitting here, we're trying to figure out, oh, this cat's that, this cat's this. I mean, folks will have more respect for all types of things other than what a person feels. I mean, to me, it's almost like your what you do in the bedroom. You know what I'm saying? That's your personal shit. You ain't putting on Twitter, yeah, I'm a freak, I'm into boom, 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 boom. Like, dude, that's your personal shit. Get down or not. You know what I mean? So that never bothers me. And oftentimes I get folks that try to attack, like, oh, such. Dude, I don't give a shit about none of that. They ain't got that, you know what I'm saying? Round for round, pound for pound, whether you're a Muslim, whether you're a Christian, whether you're an atheist, show me, like how do you say, show me the money, show me the work. Show me the proof. What have you done? What has been your contribution? And if you don't have any contribution, then STUF or STFU. You know what I'm saying? That's how I see it. So, that's my personal shit.
He's so angry he can't even get the acronym right. I love it.
Oh, nah.
You know what I'm saying? SFFFM. You know what I mean?
The only time I got angry with you on screen,
I know, I'm not playing.
Was around that vaccination shit.
Yeah, I know. I remember.
That's when I wanted to choke.
I'm just playing. He stood up, man. Y'all didn't even see when we was off air. Kalanji stood up on camera.
Oh, man. It was about to get ugly. You know what I'm saying?
I said, man, I'm glad we not in person, boy. I was about to get jumped.
Man, listen.
All right.
Hey, but I think what pushed it over the edge was a certain individual bringing my children up. I think
Yeah,
that's
no. That's
that,
yeah.
that,
It
that
went. It
that's
went.
what was like. Look,
That's what it was. No,
I
I
ain't gonna be
saw the
with you,
moment.
man.
I saw. I
Yeah,
remember because
yeah.
they were on my side, and I was like, no, no,
I'm like,
no.
yo, listen, certain
You
things we
mess.
don't do. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
I was like, you messing up now. I
You
was like,
talk about my mom,
oh,
I'm talking about my children. You know what I mean? We good. Everything else, I give you a doctor's note because I feel like you don't know no better. But
it's
don't
like
put
in
me
one
in
of those
nothing.
movies where you standing shoulder to shoulder with somebody, they do something stupid, all of a sudden you kind of like,
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
you start stepping back. I was like,
Right. They messing up everybody. Like we was
it was
winning.
like.
That's like when certain people agree with me, I get mad if I'm in an argument with some folks. Well, y'all said, man, get
They
your
sure did.
pronouns
They
right.
started
Y'all ain't
talking
say
about
nothing.
the children, the family. I was like,
Yeah. I'm like, at that point, I'm like, where y'all at?
I was like, he about to start swinging on somebody. I don't want to be in the
Man,
vicinity for
I'm
that
about to
one.
throw
Anyway.
lights up in here and everything. But nah, but yeah, I
Oh
don't
man.
I don't get caught up. I think that again, what we must do collectively is we have to arrive at a certain juncture. We got to arrive at a point where we're fighting based off of our commonalities. You understand what I'm saying? Because to me, it is cowardice at times. Folks will look for whatever flaws that you have to say, see, that's why I don't want to join no organization. That's why, blah, blah, blah. You're looking to see where the chink in the armor is instead of saying, you know what? I don't necessarily agree with that right there, but on these over here, let's go get, you know what I'm saying? My thing is let's deal with the major contradictions. And then after we destroy imperialism and smash colonialism, then we say, okay, boom. Now we talk about nation building, but I don't get down with this over here. Like, you gotta explain this over here. There's only certain things that a person, an individual can do that will force me not to organize with them. And the main ones would be them working with the state, the police, um, being a rapist or a pedophile. You understand what I'm saying? Those things
That'll
right
do
there,
it.
I don't make no exceptions for. And everything else, I can struggle with you. You know what I'm saying? You got some type of addiction or whatever the case is. We I'm not putting you on the, in charge of certain pieces. I'm not
Right.
setting yourself up for failure. You know, we don't put you where all the equipment is, and we know you smoke. You know what I'm saying? Like, yo, what happened to you? Man, I sold it. Like, what are you talking about? But yeah, certain things.
Where the guns at? I smoked the guns.
Yeah, like, and I smoke you too, fool. But yeah, man, so yeah, we got to organize. We got to find points unity. That's one of the things I'm a do a shameless plug from an organization. That's one of the things I enjoy about the FTP movement is that we have all types of different individuals that roll with us. And the wildest thing about it, most of my closest comrades are priests in some fashion or form. Mainly Yoruba. You have some imams and even the hip hop minister. Shout out to Serve over there. But it's a beautiful thing because there's all different types of 5%ers. There's all different types of individuals who come from different backgrounds, but we are clear about what our collective mission is. So we don't ever argue about religion or any of that type of stuff and we didn't have to say it's not on the table because the fact because with us, we're clear about where we're going politically. We're clear about who our enemy is. So once you clear about that, all this other shit is like, it's sidetracking. You know what I'm saying? It's just like what H. Rap Brown, Imam Jamil was talking about. He said, they'll take you off the offense and put you on the defense. He said, you'll be talking about, look, we want liberation. And they say, no, you don't want liberation. You want to marry my daughter. So now you arguing with them about whether or not you want to argue with their daughter. You know what I'm saying? I use an analogy about playing football. You could be running the ball and you about to score and somebody yell out the crowd, Jared can't run, he suck. And all of a sudden you turn around, who said that? F you, whatever, blah, blah, blah. You tackle, fumble the ball, the other team wins the game. That's where we are politically. That's who we are as a people. We keep being distracted and we keep on fumbling, and therefore we cannot be victorious if we're on a constant defensive position. That's my take.
No, right on. And I know we don't always agree, but I do appreciate that dealing with the real. I always like when somebody gets my references. I appreciate that. Yeah, yeah.
Show us the gator dance, Jared.
I don't have a gator dance, but I fully understand how Gator became Gator, boy. That oof, no joke.
Yeah.
Now, how did Christopher Hitchens become my mentor? Liberation theology is an oxymoron. I actually, anyway, I don't want to go into that. But I don't know how I got hitched to Hitchens.
David Silberg, big pun.
Big pun.
That's the Silberg in you, Jared.
That's the Silberg in me. That's it. There it is. There it is.
No doubt. Jared Silberg. That has a ring to it.
And certainly, his politics. Hitchens became a defender of the invasion of Iraq and stuff like that. Like his politics were jacked up. But anyway, thank you, Ty 313, for the super chat. Abrahamic religion's relationship with us in a historical context can't be escaped, regardless of us running. Just like slavery, these all have effects on our minds, lives, actions, and relationships. No doubt. Thank you very much. No, I hear you, Jupiter. I got you. I know. It's all good. It's all good. It's all good. And Franny said you dreamt we was at we were at a party together. Uh-oh.
You and Franny was at a party together?
Franny said, I lost the comment somewhere, but she said that she dreamt that we were at a party together.
Okay.
Said, okay.
I'm glad you dream about Jared. I don't want to be dreaming about Jared. No
hold up, I be good at people's dreams. I pop up. I'm a positive contribution.
Hey man, you and Franny can stand each other's dreams.
It don't always have to be. Inappropriate.
Hey, listen,
man, we was at a party. You know what I'm saying? An ear doctor was spinning. You know what I'm saying?
That sounds like a nightmare.
Oh man. Anyway,
Yipper want to know what was at that party. But anyway, I want to smoke with Jab. Look at Manny now, boy. See, everybody loves Jab. See, everybody loves Jared. You know what I'm saying?
I'm just picking
like
the right
sheep of the
comments.
family.
No. I'm just picking the right comments. That's all.
I bet you are. See, they love you and Kamal. I think it's that y'all the academics, 2% black, y'all win all the time. we get crumbed.
Don't be up here challenging me. Don't be up here challenging me.
You got to challenge you?
He said Don said he smoked me under the table, and it's like, come on now.
Okay. I went from revolution to smoking you under the table.
Yeah. Anyway, let's stay on. Oh, but there it is. Jackie is my favorite. Jackie's everybody's favorite, no doubt. No doubt.
Yipper's very intelligent.
Yeah, there you go, Yipper. There you go.
Yipper for president. No doubt.
Oh, that's messed up. So listen, hey, look, man. We didn't have a lot of prep time today, and I like that we both shared that, and I think I still love the conversation. And we're always happy to come back to more of Fanon, more of this book,
yes.
And more of all of these.
Chapter 2 next week or what?
I would. You know what? Let's do it. If we don't have anything else, or we can at least incorporate that if anything else comes up, I'm happy to do that. So that would mean, let me just pull this up here. That would mean we are doing grandeur and the weakness of spontaneity. Is that, am I reading that right?
I think you might be right. What do you all feel in the chat? And we did open up the chat today. Should we go with chapter 2 next week or what? We'll let you all vote on it. If you say no, we'll come with a whole different joint. Hopefully we didn't waste your time here today. On this Monday morning, we are grateful. To me, I feel like it's an honor to talk about Fanon and his work, because I don't even think that, for me, if I was Fanon, or if I had any type of great contribution and I can help it, I wouldn't want everybody to say my name. You know what I'm saying? So, that's just how I feel personally. So are we doing chapter 2?
It looks like it.
Okay.
It looks like there's a strong let's do it. Yipper even said sure, so now it's official.
Yipper said sure. You know,
I mean, it's
Yipper all right with me, but
you know,
today, you know how the remixes do though. They love you one day, and then tomorrow they like, F you, Kalanji.
Nah, nobody feels stupid around
Manny
here.
said she said she didn't feel stupid so much that she wanted to smoke with you. And you know it's a bad day. But anyway. But
there we go. We go. Anti-France,
pro-France. Okay.
That's how we do it. Yeah.
Word.
The only French folks we like is Franny and those colonized by the French. We should do that. I like that. Yeah, I just need to. I mean, I'll even be ready to go for this on next week if you want. We can add this. We can start this. I just didn't want to try to rush and try to watch it last night because I knew I was going to try to reread this chapter, and I can't. I only got so much capacity. So
no doubt. So let's make that official. Next week we'll discuss Chapter 2 and the Battle of Algiers. So if you all want to join in with us, get with us. That's what we on next week.
I love it.
And for folks that missed what we said in the beginning, we are still doing Blood in My Eye, and it will be coming on May 19th, and we'll be joined by Dr. James as well. And hopefully Dr. Janine Jones. We have those two are like the brains behind the operation, and we appreciate their work and efforts and energy in building Guerrilla Intellectual University. We also will have some merch coming soon. If you all interested in Guerrilla Intellectual University,
I just got my new BPM shirt too.
I see. Is that red or is that orange right there?
I can't tell either. I think it's like I don't know.
We're gonna claim it at red today. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that's what we're doing. So again, definitely check out our website. If you haven't gotten the opportunity, make sure that you join our email list, which is on our website.
Right.
Sister May has been sending out e-blasts about past shows and all of that type stuff. So definitely,
and I want to highlight a point that you raised with us off air. I forgot to do it over the weekend. This is really important. I'm glad you did that. We want to be more overt and conscious in our efforts of getting folks to attach themselves to the BPM website.
Yes.
blackpowermedia.org. Make sure you're following that website, signed up on the listserv, just in case. You never know how these folks go with how they want to do us. So we need to be able to reach out and not only get you all the content, but let you all know what's happening. Because last time when we got that ban, there was a good amount of confusion even among our circles. So if you're attached to blackpowermedia.org, not only will you be assured of being caught up with all of the latest content throughout the channel and all of our associated comrades' work, but if something goes crazy, you'll be able to hear from us and follow the work we continue to put out. So please do that.
And we're always getting more merch. We don't always announce it, so stay tuned. Check that out. As we mentioned, the e-blast, but also we would encourage you. We would encourage you all to support our efforts by donating to the platform as well. We have different ways at blackpowermedia.org, because we're looking to our goal is to not only broadcast on YouTube, but deliver exclusive content, not only on Patreon, but on the website itself. So for example, sometimes we may want to say, okay, boom, we're doing Guerrilla Intellectual University from 8 to 9, we might be here. And then from 9 to 10, we may decide that that we're taking it to the website. But the website is blackpowermedia.org. Not com.
Yeah, somebody said there's a 404. No, the site's working perfectly. There it is.
Site works good. You might have put something else in there. But
yeah, you get all the latest. Look at all the content comes up. You got the store. You can get your sign up for the email blast right here. You got all that you need in terms of the history, the media that's going to come. All the latest. Look at Brother Diallo. Look at that. Look at that.
Look at that, man.
Look at that.
How he get on the front page?
I don't even know how that happened. But
he's top of the charts.
This is the deal we had to cut with him. He got to get top billing. That's what he got the name above.
Is RSTV even on there?
I don't even know, man. I don't even see I mix what I like. You know what I'm saying? There you go.
Oh,
there you go.
wow.
Oh, I'm down at the bottom. There I
Oh,
am.
okay.
I'm down at the
You
bottom.
know,
You know what I'm saying? So I mean, you know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean?
No.
But this is what we do. We
Yeah.
for us to continue to bring you the stars like Diallo, we need folks to be in touch with the you know, you can contact, if you got a show proposal, if you got ideas, if you got, you know, all of this, and then all the various ways to donate, all right here. So just this is it right here. Get the latest updates, put your email in there, and that's what it is.
No doubt.
That's the best thing to do. So
thank you, Raspberry
thank
Brown.
you. Yeah. Oh, my bad. Thank you, April. Yes, indeed. Thank you.
Yeah.
So
No, we definitely appreciate you. We definitely appreciate you all encouraging our work. Shout out to Diallo. Matter of fact, I did an interview with him last week. If you missed that on RSTV, check that out. Also, this past Saturday, I did a interview with Dr. Joy James. Her book is called In Pursuit of Revolutionary Love. So it's funny, I was talking to someone and they said, yeah, I heard y'all was talking about love, revolutionary love. I said, that's the name of her book. They was like, I knew you didn't know anything about no damn love. But anyway.
And it was a good interview, and I was in the chat foolishly thinking it was live. So it was. I got fooled. I got caught up in it.
Well, thanks for busting us out. I told everybody else it was live.
Oh, did you? My bad.
It's okay.
Oh, my bad. My bad. Whatever it was dope. It don't matter. It was dope.
It don't.
So go watch it.
We're live today, though. How about that?
We live right now. There you go.
No doubt. Thank you, Dr. Ball, for
thank you.
You know, for I think this is a pretty good piece today.
I loved it. I had a great time. Yeah. I look forward to more. So Battle of Algiers in Chapter 2 next week. Big shout out, you know, as I've always said in my own media analysis, the most powerful people that you see in a media product are off camera and off mic. So shout out again to Doctors James and Jones and
that's right.
And all the people that help this platform behind the scenes. Thank you to Keontae for another super chat. Appreciate you. And we'll catch you next week on this particular program and all throughout the week and days and evenings variously on the platform. So
look at your man starting trouble right there.
Website Classic Renegade. It was my favorite podcast.
You know
it was. I mean,
hey,
and that was no joke, man. I don't get me started on that. Don't get me started on that.
I'm a quote Ice Cube. Started out with too much cargo, dropped the nigga, making all the dough.
Wow.
Shots fired.
Look at how he did me. Got me standing on the side like DJ Yeller.
Hey,
I'm just co-opted into the moment like Yeller.
No doubt. Anyway, we'll keep it moving. Appreciate y'all. Server started it. But anyway.
Server started it, coming in under the guise of a peaceful minister, you know what I'm saying? Pushing buttons. Anyway, peace, everybody. Only if you're willing to fight for it, like Fred used to say, and we know you do at GIU and in the remixes. Thanks to Kalaji. Peace, everybody. Catch you next time. Right, y'all.